All right, welcome back, everybody. And as promised, I have my good buddy and my old boss, Benton Cotter, here. Benton, thank you so much for taking the time and being on the NARPM radio today.
I appreciate you having me, Pete, man. It's good to catch up and good to see you, and I love hearing about all your stories and stuff. So love the time to catch up with you. And
So,
old boss, we use that loosely, with quotations. No one can be Pete's boss, that's for sure.
well, I was unemployable, and it took mine about 18 months to figure that out.
I figured it out after a day, I think, but it took a while to get rid of that, right? Now, to part space for us to both figure it out and admit it, I
I'll,
guess.
I'll let people behind the curtain a little bit. One of the funniest things now to me was funny is like you called me up when I was working with you, and you're like, "Hey, man, um, I think it might be good if we start exiting you out." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Like, when are you thinking? Like October?" You're like, "No, I'm thinking like in 2 weeks." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, "So mine must really want to have gotten rid of me." And this is in June, and you're like, "I've been saving your job since January." I said, "Oh, wow, okay. I guess I'm not gonna make it to October. I guess I'm not." He goes, "You're not gonna make it till the end of June, buddy."
Well, I don't know if that's how it went down.
Kind of funny. He's like, no, what you did say is like, I'm going on vacation, and then let's when I get back, we'll start the transition.
Yeah, there you go.
That was great. I'm like, all right.
It's one
Well,
of my better
you took
manager
care of
moments.
me. I had a nice little exit package, and I do appreciate it. You are one of my favorite humans, brother. I appreciate you when we were at Mind, and it's great getting to know you. So you exited Mind like literally what, just a few months after me, I think, in 21, right?
Yeah, 21, 22, somewhere on there. Yeah,
I
yeah,
think it was like, yeah, it was like near the end of
yeah,
21, early 22.
yeah, yeah, I think so.
So, what have you been doing since then? We're in 24 now. So over the last few years, what have you been up to?
Dude, I think I'm trying to find myself, right? I don't know. So me and Jacob, my other brother partner, bought another property management company, and we resold that after a year to Evernest, which was a good fun transition with Matthew. Been doing some other projects, bought a cookie business, and then really kind of just focusing now is more like consulting stuff, trying to figure out what I enjoy, and I think I've kind of narrowed it down. I enjoy talking about business and helping people with business, but I don't think I enjoy the actual hard work, maybe, so kind of been doing that, finding a few things, but I think for the last few months, it's more about consulting and figuring out what I want to do for the rest of my life, type thing.
So I'm not going to let this we're not going to brush right past this. Yes, folks, he did say cookie business. So, you bought a couple of franchises in the cookie business, yeah?
Yeah. So I'm in Arizona and then also around the Nashville area. And so those are just starting up, it's been a little bit different to do like retail. It's my first time doing like a restaurant retail type spot. I've owned other businesses before, but been usually service businesses. And so it's been good. It's interesting to know, trying to use it as passive income, but it's called Dirty Dough. And it's been great to have two partners that kind of run the operations on more back end and financial and marketing and stuff. And so, but cool experience, definitely right now it's like I probably regret it, but in a year I'll be grateful, type thing. You're in the mix of it. So just been open a few months, and then Nashville is going up here in the month too. So excuse to me to go to Nashville. I think that's where my wife's in it for it. Yeah, like an excuse to go to Nashville. So she's
It's
all
a
for it.
it's a write-off. I don't even know what a
Yeah.
write-off is, but they're doing it.
That's what we keep saying about our mind stock. Oh, it's just a write-off. It's gonna be a loss. And so we can just write it off, right?
We're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that here in a second. But before that, so let's talk a little bit about like I know like with Rentvest, right? That was your old company, Rentvest, before you sold to Mind. You were kind of like the marketing guru. Like one of the things that you guys did extremely, extremely well was you would market into a new market, get properties um, under contract, and then you would hire a property manager in that area, which I thought was just brilliant. And it sounds like maybe you're pivoting towards being a fractional CMO or helping people with their marketing. So give if you can, but obviously our listeners are property management companies. Can you give like your top two or three like little tricks or just nuggets that you would tell clients or potential clients about how to
Yeah.
do their business through marketing?
Yeah, man. That's one of my favorite things. All three of the companies, I had 5 property management companies, and I kind of always focused on marketing, right? And so Rentvest is a bit unique, So my number one thing is like, hey, don't go into PPC right away unless you're ready for it. Like Google pay per click or Facebook or anything like that, because it's expensive. But really the main thing I see, and this is just, when I've been talking to a lot of people, and I've run in a lot of companies when we bought them with Rentvest or Mind, right? Is they don't know their brand, like know who you are and then market as yourself. Don't market as your competitor, right? Like if you're a low cost leader, market yourself as a low cost leader, just own it. And so don't kind of project all these other things that you're not, because they're going to see through it on your conversions. This is not now about views and clicks. And I think that's the big thing for people is like, oh, I got so many people to click on my website or view it. And so they focus more on how do I trick them to click on my website. It's like, hey, all matters is the conversion. Do they sign up with you? And so start with what your value proposition is, who you are, really promote that, and then see where you need to go from there, right? Some people can work better on PPC, some work better on Facebook, some work better just referral, word of mouth or in your local community. And you just kind of know who you are. And then if you're not that person, like I'm not the company to go on PPC, then if you want to change, but change your brand. And so that's always know who you are, know your voice is number one thing. And then really, I think nowadays, man, everybody should just be doing content. You know this, Pete, man. You're doing a podcast, you content. It's all about content. Become the local expert. That's where everything's going. Google's promoting it, YouTube's promoting it, everybody's promoting it, right? Facebook, everything's about content and being the educator. And so just do that, man. Start with that first, because it just costs your time. And then once you figure out your clientele, you start getting people in, then you can kind of hone in your message and then go to actual paid ads and advertising. So it's more systematic, do it in stages, but I would focus everything on content, even if they're the worst. Like I'm the worst on video and stuff. And I just put it out there. People appreciate it if you're genuine and you know who you are and you're not being one of those, you're not going to be fake. Just be real, be who you are. And then you'll connect with people. And then it starts from there and it snowballs. It takes a little bit. You're not going to get leads right away, but it adds up.
So if I'm a PM firm in Houston, Texas, you're saying have a podcast or something like that for content and literally just talk about investing in Houston. Would that be
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, man. And I would just actually do YouTube shorts right now are really popular. Google's really promoting YouTube shorts. Just do YouTube shorts, 2-minute videos, 3-minute videos, and just kick one of those out a day or once every 2 days, try to do 3 a week, whatever you can do. And
Yeah.
that's what I would start with. And it's just a snowball. Like you'll see it. It's going to take a month or 6 days before you feel comfortable.
Yeah,
And then you
don't
start
do
something.
it one time and like, oh, it
Yeah.
didn't work, right?
No.
Like,
Yeah, you got to commit, at least 2 to 3 months. And then you'll start seeing the fruits of it. And then it's repeatable, right? Like let's say you have 6 months of content and you only got 6 leads. That sucks, right? 6 months of time, that's probably an hour a day. You waste all this time. Well, you can reuse that content for the next 6 to 10 years, right? And so if you get 6 leads every 6 months from it, it makes it worth its time. So you just have to remember that they hate, and it also compounds. It really has a compounding effect. You'll reach a certain threshold and the leads will just start exponentially coming in. And yeah, and just talk about investments, talk about anything, rent collection. You can talk about evictions. We have so much stuff we can talk about.
yeah.
And some of it's not boring, some of it's boring, some of it's not. And rental investment portion of it is the sexier portion of it. So always start with the sexier portion, but you can talk about anything, and then you just brand yourself as the expert. Even though we are the expert, I'm like, we might not know a lot, but we know more than these landlords, that they're investing
And
in. And so,
and these realtors that are just trying to
oh
survive and
yeah,
doing it. Yeah.
that's 100%. We know way more than the realtors.
Where yeah, it's not that hard. Where where do you come on with webinars? Like, would you recommend that property management firms start doing some webinars after they get some traction?
Yeah. So I like the purpose of a webinar is I don't think necessarily it's to build leads directly with the people in the webinar. It's to build raving fans. You'll notice to your webinars, you'll get the same 5 or 10 people, whatever, showing up. Those who you hold in onto. It's kind of like building a community. Build a community of raving fans. And I think webinars are a great way to do that. Or go out into local and have, just have a little meeting or event.
A lunch
Same
and
type of
learn or
thing.
something?
Lunch and learn, because you build raving fans who actually promote you. If you actually get that down, and Alex Mercer, we were talking about Alex Mercer before, think of that, his 100s, and so you have these, just go where your people are at, and then they become your raving fans. Find someone that's, the best loan officer. If they start, talking about your name, it's their whole clientele becomes referral based. And so you just get your raving fans, and webinars I think are good. Anything like that, anything you do is good. And then
Anything
you
where
just have to
you're
find
on
your
the
voice.
stage,
Yeah.
right? You're on the stage or you're holding the microphone, you are the expert, right?
Yeah. And then if you like start liking these webinars, do them more. People will come. If you're like, I don't really like the webinars, I'm just going to go do a local event. People will come. You just have to keep doing it and keep promoting it. And if you're not the right person, or like, hey, I have no people skills, I'm not, and I'm not an extrovert at all, then hire someone to be it. You just that's dangerous because then they become the expert and they get the following,
And then if
you
they
know.
leave you, then
Yeah.
they take their
Yeah.
following for sure, and they may take your clients as well.
Yeah. So I say if you're not good at it, then just read a few books, get better at it. Everybody can get better at it. And I'm telling you, it's just you're relaying information. You don't need to be the most charismatic. It works, you know. And so I like webinars, like I like local events because I like the more personal connection.
Yep.
If they see you, but then you limit your audience, right? And so anything you do though, man, try anything. And all these tools are super cheap to do, right? You know what I mean? Like local event, you may pay for lunch, right? Webinar, you pay 80
You could
bucks a
even,
month.
so one of the things that we did at Empire is we would have these events and we would have vendors support the
Yeah.
event. And
Yep.
it went from really small into from our office into like, I think at some point we're doing it at a hotel.
Yeah.
And we like literally throwing like a 1 day kind of seminar type stuff.
Yeah,
So
I think that's
yeah,
awesome. Yeah. I'm just
yeah,
going to one of like Rosenbaum, Tiffany Rosenbaum's doing one this weekend. And she's having a pest control company sponsor it. I mean, like just a little swim party. You know, we're in Arizona, it's hot, so we need swim parties. But I mean, yeah, totally, man. Do anything like that. I mean, or team up with that vendor and you get some of their clientele to come too, and their clientele you share, you know, if you're not
yeah.
big enough, or share with 3 different people. Go to the real estate offices and say, hey, can I promote with your, you know, with your team? Let's do an event together. And they might hold the majority. Then you say, well, I'll pay more towards the dinner or something like that. Cause you know, they're getting more out of it than you are, or you're getting more out of it than they are. But whatever it is, you know, just do something.
Yeah, like a database swap or something like that. They
Yeah.
call what is it called? Strategic alliances, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So that's great. That's just the tip of the iceberg. So so I think your calling is marketing. So we'll talk to people on how they can get in touch
That's
with you,
say,
and we're going to
yeah.
force you to start
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
fractional
Yeah.
CMO business
Yeah.
or a coaching business in
Yeah, you
marketing.
know what? We'll see, man. I only do it for a few people, so but I enjoy talking about it. I definitely enjoy talking about it. And so I'm passionate about it. Have been for years, 15 years in the business, you know, been through the gauntlet. That's a nice thing is I had a lot of experience and I see the mistakes and I just want to share that. I mean, I've had, you
And
know, over 10,000.
you tried just about everything too.
Oh
Like
yeah, man.
you were
Yep.
on the forefront of all this internet stuff, 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So you're just and you just keep continuously learning the new stuff and the new tricks.
Yeah, and that's definitely the benefit, right? You kind of get the greener pastures when you do that.
Yeah. So, real quick before because I want to talk to you about the mind and the Roofstock merger here, but before I get into that, uh, SEO, what exactly is like to you? What is SEO? Because we have these companies out there and they promote SEO, but like, how important is SEO, and then what can you do to make to make it better for you? Like, and what is it actually ultimately supposed to do for you?
Yeah, you know, SEO is great and it's also horrible, you know, but if you're going to do SEO, you have to go all in. And SEO is like, hey, there's 2 aspects of it. There's one that's like technical SEO, like making sure your website is readable by Google basically and Bing, right? Like that's like, oh, instead of having this, you have an H1 tag here, you have an HT tag, these stupid, you know, HTML kind of coding things. And so you have certain technicals like, hey, put these keywords here. You have to have a header here. You have to have a description on each image. Those are all technical SEOs, which a lot of people can do. And a lot of the tools out there that are, you know, AI tools where you tech your website and say, hey, you need to do this, you need to do this. That's all technical stuff. And there's some nuances and creativity, and there's good people in that. The other part of it is all about your content. And so how long people are staying on your website, engaging with your website. The benefits of us is we get a lot of tenants and residents to come, prospects to come to our websites. So we get a lot of hits as a property management company. So naturally boost our SEO because Google says, hey, a lot of people are visiting that website. Well, they're only coming for a minute or two to book a showing and then they're gone, you know. And so the rest of the part is about content, keeping them on your website and building really good articles or pages of really well-written content. And so if you nail those things together, it can be huge, right? So PPC and ad placement has definitely taken over the first page of Google. Like when you search, you know, your 4 top results are kind of ad placements now. Used to be just whoever had the top SEO ranking would come up #1 for the keyword, right? And there's no ads anywhere; they're on to the side. Well, now it's AI. It's the first part now. If you notice, you do Google and you have AI, you have the Gemini, and then below that's ads, and then below that's your search. It's still very profitable to be the #1 keyword, the top 3, but really it's the #2, #3, or #1, #2 of the top 3 of search engines. And so if you cite like property management Houston, Texas, which is a strong keyword, probably searched, you know, a few thousand times a month at least, and your website comes up because you built SEO to say, hey, that keyword's in your pages. And when people search that, they click on your page and they spend a lot of time on it. So Google thinks, oh, Pete must be really good at this. So I'm like, every time I'm going to promote that more. So you move up the list. And as you get up the list, as you become number one, you can get a lot of leads. But it depends on how many keywords you're doing. Like, so SEO is hard. And I think um, a lot of
Yeah,
our people are
it's like a
interested.
foreign language, and I think a lot
Yeah.
of us that are, in our 50s, owning our property management firms, we just fork over money, say, here you go, I need somebody to do
Yeah.
SEO, and
And
not really
I'm
understand.
not, yeah, I'm not a big fan of like, I feel like if you're doing lots of different marketing channels, then go all in and do SEO. You have to go all in on SEO, and you have to be number one or number two, and for a lot of keywords to make it worth it. And that's the nice thing, it does compound. So if you start becoming number one for this keyword, you might have 30 other keywords where you start becoming higher up, and it can really compound. And that's why that number one person in the market that's SEO kind of owns it, and it's really worth it. The other 50 people
That's
trying to do it, it's not worth it.
that's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, yeah. And then you
It
really
takes
have to go
time.
and put it in, and you really have to nail it. And some markets are more competitive. And
Yeah.
so I'm like, I don't know. I'd rather just build good content, and naturally people will come to you. You have your YouTube videos, shorts, you have your Facebook articles, you have your LinkedIn articles. They kind of come back to your website, they blog. People are staying. You build up the natural, good content. It's easier to get out there on the other social media platforms, to be honest, than
Yeah.
it is to build an SEO website nowadays. It's just because it's built for the personal influencer now, our whole society, but also the online. And so be more of a social media presence. I would do that front than I would the SEO. I think SEO is hard, and I understand you can do it. We did it, we had it, and I kind of gave it over to them. We tested a lot of stuff, and I just gave it over to the SEO guy. Happens to be my brother's firm. Like, I don't care what the website looks like, just make it the best SEO possible. And it took us a year.
Yeah.
We're in 13 different markets, so it took us a year just for pretty much for Arizona to see some real traction. And the
Right.
other markets took a while because we didn't have any presence there, so it was hard. We had no, we moved to 9 markets in a year and a half, 18 months, right? And so we had no presence there. So SEO was super hard, way more difficult. It's like, well, might as well just put it into PPC. It's way more, way paid advertising. It's way more effective for us. And so I don't know, man. SEO, I can talk all day long, but I would say if you're gonna do SEO, go all in, spend the money, get the right person. Otherwise, spend that 1,500 or 2 grand somewhere else on your
Yeah.
time and
You
building
you
social
you
media.
dropped a serious nugget there. For those of you who are in one market and you look and go to another market, PPC is probably a much better bang for your buck than SEO optimization
Yeah,
on a new
100%. Yeah.
market.
And you can gauge it like we talked about before, like you kind of let that know. Like we would advertise before we moved there just to see the interest and see how effective we were. So we had 30 days to 45 days of testing the market with PPC. And I knew how many leads we're getting. Like, okay, we're gonna sign up 20 doors a month in this area. Let's go. Let's move to Atlanta. Let's open Atlanta. Like it was just an easy decision. And some markets took a little bit longer. Like, okay, we need to build up a little bit more of a presence to make us a little more effective, and then we can kind of hit the fuel on the fire, pour the gas on the fire.
Yeah, we're talking a little bit about this in the green room before we got on. So, you know, Renvest and Empire both tried to go into new markets. One of them did it very successfully, Renvest. One of them did it very unsuccessfully, Empire. And the big difference was you invested money on the PPC and the marketing ahead of time. What I did is I hired people in that new market. And so it cost me 10 times more than it cost you. And you started bringing in revenue way quicker than we did. And that's why we only got to 2 other markets, Fort Worth and Dallas. And some people say it's the same market. So we only got to 2 markets where you were in how many markets when you sold?
Yeah, 13. Yeah, that was
13
crazy.
markets.
Three
Yeah,
years. Yeah, that's crazy.
it's crazy. All right.
Yeah, man.
So before I went on vacation, which we are taping this, I think it's like June 20th. I was on vacation, but right before I went on vacation, the big news dropped where Mind and Rentvest merged. And every time when I was at Mind and we had these stocks and everything, and Mind would send out some legal type email, whatever, I would always call Benton. I'm like, what does this mean, man? Like, so so Benton, what do you think? Because you have a unique perspective. You've been in the business for a long time. You sold your company in mind. You and I both have stock in mind. What is what do you think the Mind merger with Roofstock means? Let's talk about the industry. Let's go macro first. What do you think that means for the industry in your opinion?
Well, I think I did 2 things. One specifically with mine coming off the table, basically, of the industry not really. I foresee them not really pushing their retail for a little bit until rates come back and Roofstock starts buying. There's no point in moving it. And so kind of takes another big player a little bit, pauses them a little bit. But kind of, to be honest, I felt the going around the industry and talking to people was more like, well, is this really going to work? Are these roll ups, these big conglomerates, venture capital or equity backed players, really going to make it? And is it going to kind of thwart that growth where we saw a few players coming into the field the last few years that had heavy money investment, and we're not seeing any kind of results for their money that they're putting in, right? They're not getting any kind of payback. And so it kind of put a little bit of a, I don't know, black eye on the industry of the roll-ups type thing. But I think I think it's good. I think it's personally good. One for me personally, because it's tied to Roofstock, who has lots more money to lose, and so hey, we're alive for another few more years, because they have a bunch of cash to burn through. But also, it kind of gets them a little bit of a strategic advantage. I think Roofstock has, because right, they're just about buying. They're about buying and selling homes, right? Is the big one, especially with the institutional side of the REITs. And so if they have the whole life cycle for these REITs and makes it easier for them, retains it, makes them more efficient, all this supposedly. And so hopefully they get more clients and track it. And I think personally, I think all of us as property managers should not be property managers. We shouldn't be rent collectors. We should be investment managers. And we should have that same model. We should be helping them buy and source properties properly, help them go through the closing process, find the right loan officer, do the repairs, and then close. When they close it, we manage it, and then hopefully help them buy another one or sell this one and buy two more. We should have that whole life cycle ourselves as rental managers, so rental investment managers, and be the experts. I think that's a realization of true. Think of that. Mine has what, 20,000 doors plus roof stock, which had $200 million of revenue per year when they got some money a couple years ago. That's a lot of homes they're buying and selling. And so they kind of have a pretty big industry. I mean, they're top. Mine was definitely top 5 of door volume for single family, and they were the top buyer and seller of real estate. Roofstock was. You combine those together, you got two powerhouses. And so I see that trend continuing, where it's not going to be any more property managers. There's going to be more. You own the whole life cycle and the platform of buying, selling, and managing.
So what do you think this means for somebody who owns a small mom and pop, 200 to call it 1,000 single family homes in a market? Does this change anything for them, or do you think is this a win for the little guy in a way?
I think it is for a little bit, saying, hey, this roll up's hard, right? And then I think it's a realization or a proof in the pudding that, hey, the experience matters, the relationship matters. That it's hard to duplicate the relationship that you have with your investor, the landlord. And so mine's trying to do at scale. Pure, these other companies are trying to do at scale, Avernest, and it's a hard thing to duplicate. So I feel like, hey, it validates that, hey, it doesn't matter that we have this personal relationship, whether it's you or your staff, and you can actually build up a good relationship, customer service. And so I think I just profounds that a little bit more, saying, hey, that's real. So really lean into that, really lean into the customer service and the relationship, because that's something that the scaled companies cannot repeat or duplicate. And so that's what I think it means. I don't think it's necessarily thinks it's going to go away, though. I still think we're going to wait till rates come back and it gets hot again. We're going to have another frenzy of roll-ups come in again. It's just because the industry is so big and nobody has over 0.1% of the market share. Think of that. There's not a lot of industries out there that there's not a big player in. If you get 1% of the market share, you're a billion-dollar company. So that's what all these people are thinking. That's crazy. It's a crazy thing. It's a huge open market, but it's really hard. And so I just say keep focusing on the relationship and how you can make it a better experience for them. The tools are coming in. So even with Mind or these people that have really tech backgrounds, we have a lot of good vendors that can almost not get to their level because it's all one platform, right? That's if you have total cohesion, that's awesome. But we have a lot of good vendors where you can really up your game, trust your vendors, so you can kind of compete with Mind with that. Yep. But Mind cannot compete with your relationship. I mean, hands down, they can't. There's a few things they can add on, but really most people want a good relationship, that you take care of the home and that you care. It's hard for Mind to duplicate that and hard these big companies to duplicate. So just focusing on that.
What do you think this does for the valuations for those big companies? Like, Mind was always, I mean, at one point they were valued at over 800 million. Yeah. And, they were quote unquote prop tech. But if you look at the history, just recent history with Renter's Warehouse being what it is, and with Mind and now with this Roofstock merger, it doesn't look like they're getting the valuation that 10x multiple. Do you think this is going to trickle down to the Pures and and Matthews company as well?
I think, yeah, I think for sure. I think they're going to feel the hit of it, right? I think luckily, I think with Matthew, he's more and more of on EBITDA and, on based on actual profits a little
Yeah,
bit
he
and
was
how,
never
how
trying to be prop tech, right? I don't think ever
no, he
ever
never
tried.
tried the 10 times revenue. At least I don't think he did with his investment groups that he brought in, and he kind of brought in each deal was kind of its own investment group, right? But definitely at the Pure, I think that's going to take a hit for sure. The valuation is definitely taking a hit, right? Appreciate Renters Warehouse. I mean, selling for basically their debt. That's what they sold for, right? I mean, they sold for nothing.
Yeah,
What,
this
$500
last
a
go
door?
around. Yeah,
Yeah, it's crazy. And so that Chinese company coming in or Asian company, I can't remember what it was, came in and bought that. They're just buying up the debt basically and have to service the debt. But I think that's definitely going to help. That's going to take a knock. But I think even where mine's at, let's say they're a fourth of what they were before. That's still a huge evaluation, more than I got for my Rentvest company, more than you got for Empire for selling, right? And so that's still a win, I think, for mine. Let's say that, I mean, if anything over that 20,000 doors, so anything over $200 million is still a win for them, whatever it is. I mean, you know what I mean? Like that's still a win. And I think that's what we have to put it as is like, hey, we're not going to get the 3 times our revenue that we could have maybe 2 years ago if you really push it at 4 years ago. Hey, but but we're normalizing our evaluation. We had some good times. Now we're just getting back to normal evaluation of who we are, what we represent. We're not a true SaaS company, subscription service. We're a service industry that has a SaaS play with it, but it's not going to be the same as what we saw before. And so I don't know if our personal, I don't know about you, but I feel like when I'm looking around the industry, definitely the revenue or the multiplier is definitely taking a hit, even for the small and pops selling just because of our economy. I don't think it's necessarily in mind or Pure. I think it's more for us is just the economy, but definitely the higher players, the roll ups, they're going to have their evaluations hit.
yeah,
But
that was my next question. So you're seeing like if I'm in the market to sell my PM business, I could have sold it for a much higher valuation, maybe not much higher, but a higher valuation back in 22 than I can
yeah, for sure.
today.
Yeah, I would wait. I would try if you can hold out for another year or two. I think it's going to come back. Just wait till rates come back down and then people start buying again. And then we're going to have a flood of copycats for invitation homes. And then it's going to drive our market. And so if you can hold out for another 2 years, year or two, hold out and you'll get a better valuation for sure. I think, we're on a little bit of a low. We're on a definitely on a low.
Do you really think that rates are going to come down? I mean, I
Yeah.
feel like that they're where they should be, but
Yeah. I don't know, man. I
then
feel
again, I
like
was the guy who was saying that rates were gonna go up ever since 2001, and I'm finally right 24 years later.
well, it was too low for sure, right? We're never going to be in the threes again. Let's be honest. Well, hopefully, we're never in the threes again. That was just abnormal. But I could see rates going down a little bit more, low sixes, right? And then once the economy recovers, people start buying more, inventories more out there. It's going to recover, and that's what I'm saying. More of that, the actual activity will pick up. Right now, people are a little, scared. Inflation's high, right? Home prices are a little bit higher. They're going to come down a year or two, and people will start buying again. Where it makes sense. Right now, it's hard. Our cap rates suck. Our yield sucks right now. People are. I had a buyer. He's willing to take 2.5% cap rate. That's what he's buying at. I'm like, how do you make it? But he just has to deploy money, right? He has to deploy money. So at least he's getting something.
It's like a tax burden thing.
Yeah. But I'm like, that's crazy. So, but think they'll go back to the 4 or 5% and hopefully higher. And then people start buying again. It's just the real estate investments just built in their economy and it's just we're going to have it. And so that's a nice thing. It will come back. I don't think it's going to be as hot as it was, but we're going to have a little bit of that for sure. And then I don't know if we're going to have a crash of prices again like that. Well, I'm sure we will eventually, but I don't think we are in the future. But immediate future. But definitely the market will come back and we'll be strong again. I mean, that's great thing is I feel like we're always strong. It's just the perception of how strong we are right now. I feel like it's a great time to be a property manager, right? I mean, there's lots of owners out there. There's lots of people trying to hold on to their great rate to turn into rentals. I mean, it's a great time for leads. That's a nice thing, but it's all
Yeah,
about the
you
perception.
may not be getting the investor leads, but you're getting the
Um,
accidental landlord or the
yeah,
accidental investor
yeah.
leads for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and I think they're strong. People are still strong. Like we're still strong, adding doors and growing revenue, but the perceptions out there is like, hey, the times are not right, economy's hard, and so the valuations are lower than what they should be. And that's what I feel like. We don't have a lot of highs and lows. I mean, like we have good times, but I feel like we always have good times as property managers. We're always getting leads almost. Like
Yeah.
there are always scenarios where we get leads, and so just gotta
It's
keep
one of
trying.
the few recession-proof businesses out there, in
Yeah.
all honesty. Um, okay, so switching gears a little bit, All right. What do you think this does for us in our stock?
It's it's
Like, because
it's not worth a
I
lot.
already
It's
spent
not.
my money. I already
Yeah.
spent my 10x
Yeah.
on what my stock was. So,
Yeah. Yeah, we have this joke. So Vince is the one that kind of like he used to be like the relationship seller guy with Mind to help us like recruit us and sold us on Mind. And he was like, I got you guys yacht money, which he never did, obviously. And now like our going joke is like, you got us like blow up kayak money now. Basically, it's like maybe we can buy a kayak at this point with our money. I took a lot in stock, unfortunately, with mine, and so I'm going to hold out. I think it definitely will come back, but right now it's definitely taking a huge hit. I mean, it's not worth what it was. Roofstock's not worth what it like the last valuation of Roofstock was like 2.1 billion. I mean, that's a joke. Come on. I mean, there's no way it's worth that now. It's probably half that. And
right.
that probably should be even way worse than that, but that's just, how the markets work. And I think, we just have to hold out. So it's not a good time to sell. I think some people are trying to fire sell their stock on like these off market type thing, pre-IPO type things. And I'm like, it's not worth it to sell at that price right now. Just hold on to it. And it's definitely, there's a chance it could go to zero, but I think there's less of a chance to go to zero now, rather, right? Because mine was not doing the greatest. What we saw externally is
They ran
they're
well.
going to run out of
They were
cash.
running out of runway, right? I mean,
Yeah, they're
they
running
were
out of cash.
bleeding cash, and I believe that the one thing about the mind, Doug and Colin, the CEO and the owners, they were the founders. They were incredibly gifted at getting money. They were
Mhm.
able to raise funds very, very just great. They were able to do it very
Yeah,
easily until they
yeah,
can't. And
yeah.
I think that they ran out of investors that were gonna fork over more money because the valuation came down so much. And like you said, there's a lot of uncertainty and there's a lot of people are scared. So I believe they had to do this to survive. You kind of agree?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And then think of just the whole industry in general, of not just our industry of property management, but of, venture capitalists. It changed they want profitable companies, and mine was not profitable, far from it. And
Right.
so there's no in its sight, right? There's no end of the tunnel there for them. And so light at the tunnel. And so they had to do something. I don't know how much they had left, they kept reassuring, we don't hear a lot, but they definitely had. I bet they had a little bit. I don't know if they'd survive the next 2 years though. And so with Roofstock, they say they have next, cash for 5 years. And they need to be profitable. That has to be the goal of Roofstock is to become profitable, and then IPO is the next step, right? And so that's what we're hoping for. Hey, they can hopefully lean down, and I think Mind definitely leaned down. We grabbed a lot of good talent, from Mind in the last few months. A lot of people left, a lot of good people left, and so we're able to pick up. So there's lots of good people out there. Mind had a great talent. That's what's crazy is looking at all that talent there. I'm like, dude, there's so many rock stars there. Maybe they just weren't given the right position or the right, ownership of it, or right,
Structure.
right role structure, but such good talent. And so it had everything going. But Doug and Colin, yeah, Doug especially, man, I mean, they raised over $200 million. That's crazy,
It's a lot of
right? That's a lot
yeah.
of
From,
money,
from A players, from like Wells Fargo.
Yeah, yeah. Invesco, I mean, kidding me? Invesco is one of
Yeah.
the biggest funds ever, and then Invesco committed $5 billion to buy homes through Mind. Unbelievable get for them. That's why they got the 870 million evaluation. It's because
That's right.
Invesco committed the 5 billion. Well, but if they Invesco's still in there, right? They're a major player, and they have a lot of money, and they came in late too. So their money's like
If they
you know,
survive over the next few years and rates do come down, which is a big if,
yeah,
they're gonna be positioned really well with the money backing from Invesco, with the ability to buy properties through Roofstock, and then the ability to manage them through
yeah.
mine.
They
They
have it, man. Yeah.
yeah
Yeah,
they
I
formula.
don't think it's like gonna say, hey, our stock's gonna be worth 10 times what it is today, though. I think it's like, hey, it might get back to that evaluation of 2 billion. Let's hope Roost stock gets back to evaluation of 2 billion and then goes IPO. That'd be awesome, type of thing. And so we're definitely not gonna make out like bandits. Like we should have all sold when they last round. Like when they got that 870 million valuation, we should have just done all off markets. We should have sold because I don't think it's ever gonna get back to that point. But hopefully, gets to a point where it makes it still a good investment for us and turns out. And I still believe that it can. I think I have a lot more faith that it's actually going to turn out and make some money than it is going to go to completely zero. So I held on to all my stock. I didn't exit at all. So
So what do you think? What do you think this means for Pure, HRG, and some of these other guys that are trying to roll up? Do you think this hurts them or this helps them or a little bit of both?
I think it hurts for sure. I think, it definitely helps because they feel like they've won the battle, right? Because then another company bite the dust, but then it's another company biting the dust of a roll up. And so it's no one's really proven the model. HRG's huge, right? I don't hear a lot about them. That's what's funny is you don't hear a lot of news about them. They're not like the sexy player like mine and Pure are, right? Because I think they have the tech play. and HRG is still trying to figure out their tech, figure out the cohesiveness of all the markets and stuff. But I think they're in a good position if they can figure it out and then really, really nail it. I mean, they can be in a good position. I mean, they have over 40,000 doors, right? So I mean, they're in a good position. They definitely evaluation took a hit, and they're private equity backed, and so I know those guys are itching to get out the private equity for a long time, and so we'll see what they do and see how they go over the next few years. If they can hold out, I think they're going to be the best position just because they have the geographic, they have all over the nation, and they have the most doors. But it's a big if they can make it cohesive. It's like they're all not. I wouldn't say they're all different markets and different. They're like it's just hard. It's hard to manage all that in those different markets to figure it out. But Pure, I think, might be the biggest hit because they're kind of like not the mimic of mine, but they're very similar. They're a SaaS play, right? They're a prop tech, and so that's going to be a huge.
That's going to be a hit to
Knock.
the valuation next
I
time they
think so.
the next round, right?
Yeah, I think so,
And
especially since they haven't released it generally to everybody and they haven't actually had everybody on the platform yet. So I think definitely they're gonna have a hit. So hopefully they can survive the next year or two before they have to raise some funds.
yeah, that's a big ask, creating a property management software while running property management.
Yeah, it's hard enough, right? I mean, it's
Mhm.
crazy. Like
It really is.
that's my
It's like
back.
building a
That's my
plane while you're flying it, you know?
Yeah, that was always the thing of mine, right? I'm like, and it's
Yeah.
hard. I mean, there's so many aspects of the property management software. That's what's hard. That's why we have all these great vendors coming out. I feel like the next play is like we just need one to actually bring all the vendors, talk to each other, and bring them all together. Like we need a platform that is all integrated, that works with these vendors and doesn't try to be the best application software, the best inspection software, the best, portals.
Right.
Like just hook up with the best vendors, best in class, and make it so it's accessible and cohesive.
Yeah.
And then you win. That's, I think, is the next play because it's just too hard. And thinking that these are the
I think
like,
Rentvine is doing that. I think they're really focusing on that, which would be
yeah,
nice for
yeah.
all the users.
I love them, right? Because the open API, easy to work with. Yeah, I agree with you, man. That's the right way to do it, and just admit it, right? And then so you don't need it for everybody, right? The mom and pop that has 100 doors, all those softwares work fine for the inspection model and stuff like that. But I'm saying once you reach a certain level, you start competing with the bigger boys. You need top of the line technology.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Thanks. All right, here we go. Lightning round. Now, Benton, I know you're a huge follower and a downloader of the NARPM podcast. I know exactly that you know how this goes.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, man.
I'm gonna ask you a series of questions, quick answers, but if you want to expand, no problem. All right, here we go. You ready?
Let's do it.
What is one of the hugest mistakes or stupidest things you did when started your PM business?
I try to do too much. I should have, typical. I need to hire good people, and let them do their thing, and let them take ownership. Don't control it.
What PM software did you use at Rentvest?
We used Propertyware and kind of built our own to supplement it.
Interesting. I didn't know that second piece. All right.
Yeah.
Um, do you use virtual assistants in your new business? And did you use virtual assistants at Rentvest?
So at Rentvest, we didn't. That was 2016. It was all here, but we're definitely remote workers in the US. But then, yeah, now going forward, yes, I do. I think with every aspect, especially marketing, great use of virtual assistants with the marketing field.
What is one piece of advice you'd give someone just starting out in the PM industry?
Hustle, go out and get leads, hustle your way into relationships. And then if, uh, there's a balance, like don't hand over your books to accountant right at the beginning, do it yourself, figure it out, then hand it over, right? Know it a little bit. And then there's some aspects, give up quickly because you're not very good at it, and find a good, like a business developer. If you're not a good business developer, give it up quickly. So hustle and do the things you can, recognize the things you can't, and give it up to somebody else.
I like that. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Heck yeah, it does. That's a no-brainer question.
What was your first job?
So I worked at my uncle's farm on the summer. So my uncle he was a welder, really experienced, very great welder, but he loved farming. So he'd lose money at farming because he loved it so much. But I'd go work with him and my brothers on the farm, throwing watermelons and chopping weeds.
That sounds like hard work. How old were you?
So I started when I was around 13, 12 to
Right.
13, and worked there until I was like 18 off and on, just to help him out. It was good though. Like great experience, great work ethic. Get up at, be at the farm by 4 and be done by 10 in Arizona, during the summer, it gets up to 120. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
a great experience. Yeah, I loved it. So I appreciate my uncle to let me do it because I was not a good worker. That's for sure. I cut plants, not weeds on
The
accident all the
farm
time.
where child labor still exists.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What is something that most people don't know about you?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I guess I have 4 kids. I don't know. I don't know what people don't know about me, man. I like sports. I don't look like it, but I love basketball. I love baseball. I love all sports, but definitely baseball is kind of a passion of mine, even though it's boring, but I love it.
You're easily amused,
I
chopping
have.
chopping watermelons and watching baseball.
That's right. That's the summers. The summer's the best.
What is one book you're currently reading or one that's impacted your business or life that you would recommend?
Oh, you know what? Let's see. The best one I think is I love this book, and it kind of goes against my thought before, but it's called Rework. It's the guys that do Basecamp. They wrote the programming language Ruby on Rails and created that. But it's a great book, super short, but it's all about simplifying your business. And it's like that's what he did with the book, right? The book started out at 700 pages and then went down to 120. He's like, just take things out, and that's how they built their software, Basecamp. It's like a operations type
Yeah,
task management
and a
stuff.
fun fact about Basecamp is no outside money. He didn't
Yeah,
raise
they
any
don't. Yeah,
funds. Yeah.
great quote. You should read. They have another one too, but he has another book. But I loved his books, man. I'm like, so just matter of fact, like tell you how it is. You can tell like he really wanted right to help you. It's not promoting himself, to be honest. You can tell it's like, here, I want to help people. How do I do it? They have a great culture at their work. They're in Europe, so they can do whatever they want. But people take off the summers. It's a great book, and it's super short. Like I would read it. I listened to it on my way down to my Tucson office. You can listen to it with an hour and 20 minutes, hour and 30 minutes. I listened to the whole book on 1.25 speed and be done with it. And it was a great, I do it every year to read it. So
It's called We Work, like we work.
rework. Yeah, like to redo work. Like
Oh,
he
rework.
like
I'm
like
like, I
no
thought it was,
meetings.
yeah,
He's like, get rid of meetings, get rid of
got it.
simplify stuff. It's really good. Every entrepreneur should read it. It's like I know everybody's like the E-Myth is important. That's an important book. Rework is better than E-Myth for every entrepreneur. It tells
Really?
you. I really think it's foundationally it's great. Once you get to that, then you can go up to like scaling up with Vern Harnish. Like when you
Yeah.
get to that
Right.
level. But definitely Rework is a great philosophy, and it kind of goes against all these dumb VCs and you know it's just great.
Yeah,
Be
he's
profitable.
anti-VC. I do know that. So
Yep.
I'm gonna pick
Yeah.
that book up. All right, what do you prefer, dogs or cats?
Oh man, you're gonna make me admit this. I prefer cats. I don't have any cats. We have 2 dogs, but I prefer cats. I
Really?
know. I like cats. I'm weird like that. But
That's all
my
right.
wife still won't let me get a cat, but we have 2 dogs, so it's still putting a little animosity in our marriage. But yeah, we had tons of cats growing up. My mom was like a sucker for any kind of stray cat or like would take cats in. So we always had like tons of cats at our house. They're always outside cats, but some always grew up looking at
Nice.
them.
If someone is interested in learning more about you maybe using you as a fractional CMO, even if I don't even know if you're actually doing it or not, or they just need some help with marketing, what's the best way they can get in touch with you?
I do have a website. I call it PMUp, pmup.co.co. So there's no M in it, but you can go out there, fill out a web form or call there. Definitely it's up there. That's what I kind of do. And if you're right for it, for sure, I love it. I just like talking about it. So I don't mind always just talking about it and then see if it's even a right fit, but I'm not a right fit for a lot of people. But yeah, just go to pmup.co and, up your PM business is kind of the slogan.
Awesome. And if you are not a member of NARPM and you've downloaded and listened to this, what the heck is going on? Join NARPM. Go to NARPM, narpm.org, or give the folks a call at 800-782-3452. And if you want to be cool like Benton and have virtual assistants, give us a try. Go to vpmsolutions.com, or you can actually reach out to me via email, pete@vpmsolutions.com, and we can help you out with determining if you need a remote team member and what position you might need it for. Benton, thanks so much for being here, brother.
No, I appreciate it, man. Good catching up with you, Pete. We'll see you next time at the next conference. Hope to
All
hang
right,
out.
cheers, everybody.
Thanks, dude.